Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Literature and Literature. Thank you so much for watching. This is lecture number 2, Anglo-Norman period. I've already talked about the Anglo-Saxon period or the Old English literature period in the previous video. So in case you haven't checked that out, please go and see it first. Link is going to be in the description and in the comment section. I would recommend watching it first because then you'll have a better understanding of what we're going to do now. In case you already know about the Old English period, then you can, I think, perhaps see this one. Okay, so let's start from the very basic thing. What do you mean by the term angle or Anglo? We just talked about in the previous video that Angles, Saxons and Jutes were the Germanic tribes, right, who came in from the Scandinavian countries. And they came and settled in England, and England took its name from Angle land, the Angles, right? So Angle land, so there came from there came the name England. So now that has been associated with England. Angle and England, they kind of go together. And like today also, you have Anglo Indians, right? People who are Indians but from British descent, right? So that is what Anglo Indians is like. So Anglo and Indians, you understand, right? India and Britain. What is it that is written here? Anglo-Norman, which means English and Normans. Who were the Normans? Normans came from France, and from France they brought, of course, French influence. If they are French rulers, they are going to bring French influence. And what is the French influence going to be like? Of course, there would be an intake of vocabulary. There would be some cultural exchange too. But what we are concerned with is the language. So obviously, Old English, as I said, Old English was there when the Germanic tribes came, and the influence that they caused led to the formation of Old English, right? We talked about that. Now, with the French influence on the Old English, will lead to the formation of Middle English. And we'll read about the Middle English literature and its attributes, perhaps. Before that, Anglo-Norman period, how did it start? It happened when in the Battle of Hastings, which happened in 1066 AD, William of Normandy defeated Harold Godwinson, who was the last Anglo-Saxon. So that is how and when the Anglo-Norman period began. What else was going on? You should have an idea about it. Crusades were happening. Crusades, to just have a very general idea, was about religious supremacy of one religion over the other, and it went over for years. Secondly, universities or places of education started coming up. You have the Oxford, the Cambridge. Of course, these were not established right here. I mean, it's a little, I would say, not contested, but it's not very clear. But Oxford came up during the time of Alfred the Great. If you remember who Alfred the Great was, we talked about him. He was the one who led the defense against the Viking invasion, right? He was the one who was the only prominent king at that point of time. So, of course, under Alfred the Great, Oxford came up. And in this period, Anglo-Norman period, we have these universities reaching a place, a position of importance. And we also can connect it to the fact that Renaissance is going to come in very soon. And what is Renaissance about? Renaissance is about learning. Renaissance is about knowing a lot of things, right? So then came Magna Carta in 1215. This was perhaps the first document which put any kind of restraints on the powers of the king. Otherwise, till now, king's powers were unbridled. But now, of course, with the coming of Magna Carta, you do have some kind of restriction on the powers of the king. Forget about this right now. This will come in later. I've written it here, but this does not have to come here. But because I've written it here, I'll just tell you one thing. The question from this in the previous years was difficult one. It asked you, when this was passed or when this came up, and it gave you four options, and you had to select the right date. So that is, of course, a little difficult, but you do not have. That doesn't mean that you keep memorizing all the dates possible. It's okay. This was asked. Remember it. That's it. And even Magna Carta, if you can, but this is not important. It's okay if you cannot remember. Okay. Now we'll talk about the Middle English literature. Historia Regum Britannia is perhaps one of the most important works that you'll find in this period. Historia Regum Britannia is about the history. The name is suggestive itself. Historia, history of Britain, right? So this is written by Geoffrey of Monmouth. Also, this work is not a very reliable source, because it is said that a lot of things written in this are fictional, they are not for real. So that is about Historia Regum Britannia. Also, you should know a little bit about the span. It talks about the history right from the founding of Britain by Brutus. I've written it. So it talks about the discovery of Britain by Brutus of Troy, and from Brutus comes the name Britain, right? They sound similar. So from Brutus comes the name Britain, and from there till the Anglo-Saxon rule of the 7th century, this book covers. Now, obviously, if this book is written in the Anglo-Norman period, so the most this book can cover as history is till the Anglo-Saxon period, and that's exactly till where the book has been written. Next work which is important is Brute. It's also called the Chronicle of Britain. Again, the history thing, and this is written by Layman. Um, Layman, when you talk about him, he can be equated with Chaucer and Shakespeare for that matter, because even Chaucer and Shakespeare, both of them did not have original stories. They borrowed stories from other people, but they gave it an English flavor. For example, Chaucer did that. He gave it a contemporary kind of flavor, which struck that chord with the audience, which struck that that, that really impressed the audience. In Shakespeare, he knew about human nature. He very well understood the character of humans, and that is why in Shakespeare, that is his I would say forte and his strong point. And um, you will see that Shakespeare also is a borrower, but he gives it that insight of human nature, which renders the play so good to read. All right, now before I go on to these literatures, these pieces of work, I would like to tell you about the three cycles which were going on. I've not written it here, just remember it. There were three cycles very prominent. In the previous video, I told you that King Arthur, his legends and stories about him are going to be very very famous. Old English also, here also, and here they will actually reach their peak point. A lot of people will write about King Arthur, and oh, I'm sorry. A lot of people will write about King Arthur and his knights in England. In France, there would be Charles Magne. In Rome, it would be Alexander the Great. So these were the three people who were being written about, right? Arthur is somebody who's very important for us. The other were just like, we don't really need to remember them. So that's about it. And now we come to the other pieces of work. Owl and the Nightingale. This is about, this is almost like a quarrel, not exactly a quarrel, but yeah, a kind of debate. The owl is saying that, okay, you have this problem, Nightingale, and the Nightingale saying that owl has this problem and Nightingale has this benefit. So that is what they're talking about. And because they cannot reach a resolution, they do not know who's the right one, so obviously they're going to go to a third person. So who do they go to? They go to Nicholas of Guildford, but ultimately there is no resolution that is reached at. So that's how the poem ends. Then you have Cursor Mundi, or Overrunner of the World. This covers around 7 periods according to Christianity. You don't have to know that it covers 7 periods, anything. Just know that it is from creation till doomsday. It has to be from, it talks about right from the creation of humanity to the doomsday, from the creation to its end, right? That's what it talks about. Next is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. This work is important. You should know it in detail. I will tell you the story right now. But before I go into the story, I'll try to tell you something. If you look at the previous year questions, I've talked about it in the strategy video also. The title is very important. Now, say for example, this is the title, and I have to make a question. I will ask you, who is the Green Knight in the work Sir Gawain and the Green Knight? I sometimes feel they try to check if you're curious. They try to check if you do a basic search of whatever you read or come across, because this is something you would come across very frequently, because this work is important, and it is also prescribed in universities for study. So this work, they can ask you simply, who is the Green Knight, or maybe who's Sir Gawain, like that they can ask you. So you should know that Green Knight is Bertilac. We'll talk about, you will remember better when we talk about the story, but you should know that from titles you should try to think what question is coming to your mind. So that question will come in the mind of examiner also, right? So this was written by the Pearl poet. Pearl poet is called Pearl poet because he wrote another poem which is called Pearl, and we'll talk about that too. So, what is the story about? Let's talk about that first. So, what happens is that Sir Gawain is an Arthurian knight, and this one Green Knight, he comes to the court of Arthur, and he challenges that anybody who is ready to who accepts my challenge like is welcome. So the challenge is that anybody who gives him a blow will have to receive a blow in return after 1 year and 1 day. So Sir Gawain accepts the challenge and he gives a blow to the Green Knight, and the Green Knight's head is separated from his body. But he obviously has some kind of magic. He picks up his head and puts it on the body again. And when he puts it up on the body, obviously, now Sir Gawain knows that he has to go and find him later on after 1 year and 1 day. So that happens, and Sir Gawain starts to look for the Green Knight after 1 year at the Green Chapel. Now, I have really no idea why this green is so famous, so important in the entire work. But if I find out, I will write it in the comment section. Um, so he has to go to the Chapel to find him. So when he's going, this one Sir Gawain is going, he has to fight a lot of things. The journey is not easy, and that's typical of any story during this time. The hero has to face a lot of trials and tribulations, and that is when he reaches his goal, perhaps. So here he reaches a castle, and this is not the goal, of course. He had to go and find the Green Knight, but he reaches a castle, and then um of course he stays in the castle, and there's this lord there, and the lord says that, okay, I will go outside, hunt or do whatever, and whatever I bring, I will give it to you, but in exchange of that, you have to give me whatever you get in the castle. So this continues, okay? I don't think I need to tell the details, but every day he exchanges whatever he gets. This lord, okay, this keeps going on. One day, the lady of the castle, she gives him a green girdle. So this green girdle is a girdle which will prevent somebody's death. So when the exchange time comes with the lord, so Sir Gawain holds back. He just does not give it, and the lord, he doesn't give it to the lord. But then what happens is that he starts for his search of the Green Knight, and he finds the Green Knight, and the Green Knight gives him a blow. But obviously, because he's wearing that girdle, nothing will happen to him. Then the Green Knight gives him a second blow, then also nothing happens. Then he gives him a third blow when Sir Gawain does receive some injuries. But then it is revealed that the lord and this Green Knight is the same, and it was only to check if he is being truthful, Sir Gawain is being truthful. So Sir Gawain is quite ashamed because the Green Knight is not a harmful person. He is somebody who is testing Sir Gawain, and of course Sir Gawain fails the test, and the Green Knight's name is Bertilac, right? That's the end of the story. Then, of course, Pearl poem. Pearl is obviously by an anonymous writer, and we call him the Pearl poet. So, what is it about? It's about this, father who is waiting, or maybe he's very sad, and he's sitting by the side of his daughter's graveyard, and he falls asleep, and then he has this vision that um, yeah, his daughter is standing across the river, and he's trying to cross the river, but he's not able to cross the river. I've drawn a cross here. He's not able to cross the river, and yeah, that's it. I think that's enough about Paul. Then you should also know that King Horn and Cuckoo Song are also two important works in this period, and the historical accounts of Robert of Gloucester and Robert Manning of Brune are also important. So, what is the trend? What do you see? What have we read in this entire thing? We saw the invasion happen. We know the same fightings and killings are happening, and of course, the knowledge centers are coming up now. One thing that you will see here is the focus on historical writings. Even Alfred in the previous age, Alfred the Great, he was also, he was also concerned about the history, and that is why he wrote that Anglo-Saxon chronicle, right? But here in the Anglo-Norman period, again, you will see more of history, even though it might not be true history, but there is history. You have Historia Regum Britannia, you have these historical accounts of Robert of Gloucester and Robert Manning of Brune, Brute, or the Chronicle of Britain, right? So you do have history here, right? Then I told you about the Arthurian thing. So Sir Gawain and the Green Knight is an example of that. And what else? That's it. I mean, this does not really have a trend because this comes under miscellaneous poetry. And Christian theme you will see, and like this Cursor Mundi or Overrunner of the World. Again, the period of Christianity is covered here. In Pearl also, this father who's not able to cross, it does have some Christian theme because it's something related to heaven, and his not being able to go there. So it is also of Christian theme. Then what else is of Christian theme? That's it. I mean, yeah, that's it. Also, I said that romances, I don't know if I said it, but romances were also very prevalent in this period. And what are romances? I told you about Sir Gawain and the Green Knight. It's a typical example of a romance where the hero has to fight a lot of things in order to find what he has to, and courtly love also comes in it. So yeah, that's it about the Anglo-Norman period. I hope you understood whatever I tried to tell. In case you haven't understood, you can see the video again, and still if you can't understand, you can always write in the comment section and I will reply to it as soon as I can. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. The next video will be coming soon. It's on, I think, yeah, the age of Chaucer. It's going to be on the age of Chaucer. It's going to be an important age. And we'll do the age of Chaucer. I think till tomorrow I'll post it. And yeah, this is the age of Chaucer. We'll be doing age of Chaucer. There are writers, then a lot of writers, but we're not going to go in the details because the details don't come very much. We'll just see what is important from UGC net perspective, and I hope it helps. Okay, that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.